All right, so look, initially, this was supposed to be a build guide on the human druid, but unfortunately, um, the highest nightmare dungeon I could do on the human druid was at 88, at least comfortably, like without popping potions or anything like that. It was able to beat Lilith, but it just feels like if the build can't complete a tier 100 and do Lilith, there's just no point making a build guide, right? I mean, it's a fun build though. Don't get me wrong. Like it's a very fun build. You just sit there, hold the button, you just kill everything. It's very easy to use, very good for farming. But instead, we'll be doing the pulverize druid. I called it. Overpower is broken, and so yeah, this build is just all about overpower. So let's just go over real quick, and I'll just show some gameplay, right? Um, so first, you're gonna use Vastly's Prayer. If you don't want to use Vastly's Prayer, you can use Godslayer's Crown. It's up to you. I prefer Vastly's Prayer. Then you're going to use Insatiable Fury. I think these two are the only ones that are truly mandatory, I would say. And then next you're going to use just regular arms. You're going to have Ranks to Pulverize, Lucky Hit, Crit Chance, Attack Speed. And you're going to use the Ursine Horror aspect. Now, Tybalt's Will, I would recommend you use this, and not for the damage, but for the primary restoring your primary resource, right? If you don't have this or you don't want to use this, then you're gonna have to put Umbral on a ring. And I would recommend you put it where this retaliation is. Just get rid of this, and just put Umbral there, and then you'll be fine. And also, if you do put Umbral here, because we don't have the aspect that makes it so that you Earth Skill slow, the way you fix that is you just put this on. Just put this on for the stun. This will give you spirit from Umbral. This will give you spirit from Umbral. Running into people, stunning them will give you spirit. You also get spirit just from casting trample, and then when you pop Grizzly Rage, you get a free debilitating roar. So like you'll be fine. You don't need any aspect that gives you any kind of crowd control. You'll have plenty. You'll be fine if you don't want it. But I recommend using it. It just makes life a lot easier. Then you're gonna have Ghost Walkers on the boots. Now I have an axe here, but you're gonna want what is it? A mace, whichever one has the overpower. And then the stats you're gonna want are all stats, willpower, and then 2 different types of overpower. And then you're gonna put the shockwave aspect on. Now, for Banished Lord's Talisman, I think you should put this on because it's insane. But like for farming and stuff like that, it's probably going to be way more fun for you just to use a regular amulet that has movement speed on it. Just because you'll have like what? You'll have, assuming you get perfect rolls, right? You'll have like 150 movement speed plus the 25 from Ghost Walkers. So you'll have what? 175 movement speed. So it's pretty nice on a Pulverized Druid being that fast. But for like tier 100s and Lilith, just throw this on and you can thank me later. On the rings, I think the best in slot here is going to be Crit Chance, Lucky Hit Chance, Resource Generation, and Overpower. That's probably what you want on both rings. That's just what I would do. And then you're going to put Rampaging Werebeast on one, and then you're going to put Retaliation on the other. And like I said, if you don't use Tybalt's Will, then just go ahead and throw Umbral on here. And if you have regular legs, just throw in like Disobedience. Yeah, Disobedience will probably be good here. For the Spirit Boons, you're going to want Wariness for the elites. You're going to want to core this one so that way you can get Scythe Talons and Iron Feather. You're going to want Calamity, or you can go with Bolster if you're having Fortify issues. And then you're going to want Obsidian Slam. Essentially the way this build works is you just want to trigger Overpower as much as possible. And so let's go into the abilities and I'll tell you, we have I think like 5 or 6 ways to trigger Overpower, right? But let's go over the abilities first. So I do Earth Spike, that way this can be utilized during Grizzly Rage, and it also has a chance to stun. Then you're going to obviously want Pulverize. I think this one is better, but you can use either one. I actually don't think it matters, to be honest. I've been kind of liking the stun, but it doesn't really matter. Then you're going to want Earthen Bulwark. Because we have Vastly's Prayer, you can now use this during Grizzly Rage, and that is important, especially if you're using Tybalt's Will, and I'll show that in the gameplay, right? Then you're gonna want these two right here. You're gonna get Debilitating Roar. You're gonna make sure you grab all these nodes. Mending and Provocation. Now, Provocation is our second form of Overpower, or a third technically, because you have the 3% chance to overpower. Then you have the 12 seconds while healthy from Pulverize, and then you have 16 seconds while in Werebear. And by the way, you do not have to stay in Werebear for with this timer. The way this timer works is any time you spend in Werebear adds up the timer, and then when you get out of Werebear, the timer stops, but it remembers whatever the time is. So like, let's say I get this up to 14 stacks and then I'm a human, it pauses at 14 and it waits for me to get back into bear form, and then it counts. So it doesn't reset, so you don't have to worry about it resetting. That's basically what I was getting at, right? Then you're gonna want Trample, and you're gonna want the Spirit one. Don't get the Fortify, get the Spirit. And in the gameplay I'll show you why. And then you're gonna get these three right here. You're gonna get the extra defensive posture for the Fortify, and then you're just gonna get Grizzly Rage, and you're gonna get Ursine Strength. I won't go over the Paragon board, that'll be in the planner. But yeah, I think that's it. Oh, Vampiric Powers, sorry, Vampiric Powers. So you're gonna have Blood Boil. This allows you to overpower, right? So that's your fifth way of overpowering. You're gonna have Undying for the heals. That way you stay healthy. The point of this build is you want to stay fortified and stay healthy. That's where you're gonna do the bulk of your damage. At your peak, like the highest damage you're ever gonna do requires you to be healthy and requires you to be fortified. So that's why it's important that we have these things. Sanguine Brace, we're only using for the crit chance. The extra fortify is nice, but we don't need it. But the extra crit chance is really good because it pairs well with the Banished Lord's Talisman, because we get crit strikes that overpower do increased damage, and so that's huge. So we want to have as high of a crit chance as possible. I think, what is my crit chance right now? My crit chance it's at 51, and that's not including the 8% that I get from the Vampiric Power that we just looked at. So it's like almost at 60. And then you're gonna want Prey on the Weak. This is just so that you do the extra vulnerable damage, and then also when you go against a boss, you're going to use Metamorphosis. You're just going to evade through them one time so that they get the little vampire curse over their head, and now they're permanently vulnerable, and you don't have to worry about applying vulnerable. So you get that permanent 20% multiplicative damage. So that's nice. And yeah, that's it. Now I'll just show some gameplay. All right, so first I'll just show you the little affixes, right? This build is extremely easy to play, right? There's not really much to discuss here. The main thing I just want to show you is how you keep your spirit up, and it's important that you do certain things, and there's things that I recommend, right? So for starters, right, anytime you evade, because we have Metamorphosis, we go unstoppable. And remember, with Tibalt's Will, when we go unstoppable, we get 40 spirit, right? Now, one thing I would recommend, if you haven't done it already, do not upgrade Metamorphosis to the 4 seconds. The reason being is, when you're unstoppable, if you try to cast any other form of unstoppable, it will not give you your resource. That's not how Tibalt's Will works. It only works when you are no longer unstoppable and then you go unstoppable again. So that's important, right? If you've already upgraded it, then this is what you're going to do, right? You're going to try to avoid using your evade, and what you want to do is you want to, anytime you need spirit, you want to pop Earth and Bulwark. And the reason being is because we don't have Mending Stone, Earth and Bulwark only lasts 3 seconds or until somebody destroys it, right? Which means that you only got to wait 3 seconds as opposed to 4 seconds, right? Now, what you can also do is you can, if you're like really, really low on spirit, you can cast Trample. Trample's perk gives you 40 spirit, but then also because it's a form of unstoppable, we get the 50 from Tibalt's Will, so you actually get 90. So you can easily use Trample as like your oh shoot moment, you know what I mean? And then also Grizzly Rage. When you pop Grizzly Rage, that also gives you spirit, right? And that's the reason why I said, I'd much rather use Tibalt's Will than use Umbral, because The only problem I have with a lot of these resource aspects is they don't work on bosses, right? That's always what I think about. Like most of the time, I'm not really worried about dungeons. It's like I'm always thinking about bosses when I make builds. Like I want to make sure everything I have works against a boss, right? Or at least has a some kind of function against a boss. That's just the way I see it. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much it, right? So you just want to pop your Earthen Bulwark. And then if that doesn't give you enough spirit, then you can pop your evade, right? Because then, your Earthen Bulwark was 3 seconds. So now in 4 seconds, you just got 90 spirit or 100 spirit, right? So then you'll be good. Anytime you get into a group of enemies where you feel like you might die, like especially elites, you're either gonna pop Grizzly Rage. I mean, for the most part, you can just be in Grizzly Rage the whole time. It doesn't really matter, right? Um, you don't need to save it. I just like being in Grizzly Rage the whole time. But that's a time you can pop Grizzly Rage, and then also you want to pop Debilitating Roar anytime you're in an oh shoot moment, like with a bunch of elites, because Debilitating Roar reduces their damage by like, was it like 60% for like 3 seconds or something like that. So yeah. And besides that, I mean, you're just slamming. That's about it. Make sure that you remember to use some form of unstoppable. So if you're already full on spirit, then you can go ahead and evade. So that way you get that damage bonus while you're unstoppable in the 4 seconds off after, and then also so that way you get the speed from Ghost Walkers. And other than that, you're just the whirlwind barbarian is spin to win. You're just smashing the win. That's it. That's all you need to do. So I can't think of anything off the top of my head to cover. I mean, it's very, very straightforward, right? And it's very, very easy, right? So I'll probably just let it run out, and then after that, I'll show you some gameplay with Lilith and maybe touch on a few things about Lilith, because the Lilith fight was actually really funny. So yeah, I'll just let it run out, and that's it.
I must wait a moment. I must wait a moment. I do not have enough spirit. I'm low on spirit. I must wait a moment.
Right? So essentially, the way this Lilith fight is gonna go is you're gonna make sure that you have as much fortify as you can, right? And by that, you can use the spirit boon that gives you fortify when you use a defensive move, right? So as you're gonna see here, just run in as you're walking in, use debilitating roar, use your earthen bulwark, right? So that way you get as much fortify as you can, right? Pulverize timer is at 12, and that your the little passive in the skill tree is at 16. That way you now have 3 free overpowers, right? And then you're just gonna pop Grizzly Rage, and then you're just gonna you're gonna hit her 3 times and you're done. and that's it, right? Yeah, I mean, uh, this build is the exact same one as the tier 100, so you literally don't have to change anything. You just keep it the way it is, and you just skip all the mechanics because this build is broken. And yeah, I'll just let the remaining gameplay play out, and that's it. Peace.